Hey there! Before we start the podcast, I need you to put down that wavebird and listen up.
I need money.
For a tenth of what the price of that wireless GameCube controller costs,
That should be like $5 if you got it off Shop Goodwill.
you can support me here at the podcast of Two Consoles Too Late.
I need to buy more games.
Your support gets bonus content like additional episodes, Discord server access, typewriter manifestos, and personal shoutouts on the airwaves.
I actually have a typewriter.
Vote on Patreon polls to see what video game I talk about next.
Nothing on Atari 2600.
So go to patreon.com/2consoles2late because what the world needs is more Stick It!
Hi, everybody.
Maybe what they're seeing and how they're seeing it, and also video games. I'm hearing more and more people say the level of violence on video games is really shaping young people's thoughts.
And constant crises have shaken the entire world and have threatened in each case to bring on the gigantic conflict, which is today, unhappily, a fact.
9 programmable weapons buttons. Customizable feedback software.
Don't just buy a new video game. Make one.
He doesn't have a PlayStation 5.
That's because he's Two Consoles Too Late.
Extra, extra, extra. Read all about it. Welcome to the Two Consoles Too Late podcast. I am the host, Jackson Keebler, and I am Two Consoles Too Late. In this episode, I am talking about Paperboy for the NES, and with me is Adam Blank from the Remember the Game podcast, talking about this wonderful little classic. And Brian Riggsbee has a new book out, delving into the maps of SNES games. I want to talk a little bit about that. And I haven't been playing much, but I got some stuff I gotta fix, and that is producing a bit of a stick-it. So here we go. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's get started. All right, Jackson, where the f*** have you been? Well, I have not been playing the video games. I have... the PS4 experiment sort of got me sidetracked onto modern video games, and then that got really frustrating, and I just kind of reached a point, with the video games and the podcast where I'm like, you know what, let's just take another step back and just kind of put this down for a little bit, and, we'll get back to it. And so I'm here talking about Paperboy, but this episode has been long in the making. So to that and my absence, I have to say,
Stick it!
I'm getting the timing better on that button. But I have some additional stick-its, and this stick-it is not so much going towards a goodwill for doing something bad. I just acquired 8 PS3 controllers from the Goodwill of North Georgia, and the controllers were listed for parts and repair. So I received the controllers with combined shipping, which was nice, and I plugged all the controllers in. I tested them using GamepadTester.com, not endorsing them, and all the controllers work. There's nothing wrong with these controllers other than they're kind of scuzzy and they could use a deep cleaning. So to that goodwill, once I get these things cleaned up and new analog sticks on them, I'm going to flip them for a tidy profit. And for that, you can
Stick it!
And I also acquired a PS2 from not really a local Goodwill. It's the Goodwill of the Montecito Valley. I think I'm mispronouncing that. It's out in Frederick. So Frederick, Maryland is like 30 minutes west of Baltimore. And so I acquired a PS2 for parts and repair, and they sent me the wrong power cable. So now I'm searching for a square circle power cable. This is a power cable that's usually came with like a Bose radio. And I searched my house thinking, this is a power cord I must have, which I don't. So it's just a matter of like going to Goodwill or just going to Micro Center and spending, $5 or $6 to get this power cord and hopefully get this PS2 working. But I've still got the fat PS3s, and I still have that Wii that I never fixed. It's just a little side project once again that kind of keeps it fun. So anyway, to that Goodwill for sending me the wrong power cord, I'm gonna have to say,
Stick it!
So, if you listen to the podcast on a regular basis, in episode 95, I talked with Brian Riggsbee about his book, Video Game Maps for the NES and Famicom. And Mr. Riggsbee has been quite busy with a new set of volumes for the SNES. And I came across an article on NintendoLife.com written by Jim Norman. Headline says, latest Video Game Maps SNES book dives into Zelda, Kirby, Mega Man, and more. Add to cartography. Ha ha ha. Thought that was rather pithy. Volume 2 is available for pre-order. Just head on over to retrogamebooks.com, all one word. And you can put a pre-order in there and get a hardback edition. It looks lovely, absolutely lovely, for $42. I'm a big fan of Pat Contry's series on YouTube, Flea Market Madness. And at the beginning of that series, and I'd have to go back and watch the videos, he does like a summation of what he picked up at the flea market and, you know, what he paid for it and what the eBay value is. And the music playing in the background is this fun little ditty. And I just never put two and two together until one day I started playing Paperboy for the NES, and I realized that the song from Paperboy is the song playing at the end of Pat Contry's videos. And that is the song that you are hearing now. But Paperboy for the NES was released in 1985. It was ported by Mindscape from the arcade version, which was released by Atari. And it was a funny little cabinet because it had the bike handles. I'd be curious to actually pick up a Paperboy arcade cabinet, but I'm not talking about the arcade cabinet. I'm talking about the NES version because it's a very strange, simple game. It's not a huge collector's item. We'll see that on Auction Alert. It's just a fun, simple little game, and it's kind of mindless. What is the idea of Paperboy? If you've never played Paperboy, I shall tell you. You deliver papers to subscribers. That's it. If you miss a delivery or break a window, you lose a subscriber. But if you do a perfect route in one day and you deliver all your papers, you get one more subscription. The red houses on the street are non-subscribers and the white houses are subscribers. There is a 100,000 points bonus for the ultra super perfect delivery. That means that you have a perfect delivery Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The highest score of Paperboy I saw was 644,300. And that was the highest score that I saw. My typical run for Paperboy was about 40,000. And typically I had about 6 to 7 subscribers left each day. There is an obstacle course at the end of every day, and if you complete the obstacle course, you get 2,500 points for completing that. So if you do the obstacle course, then your score can go up a little bit. So if I did the obstacle course, my score would go up to 62,000. This game was based on score, being a game sort of back in the day. There was a speed run I saw on YouTube. It was 10 minutes and 33 seconds, and it was done by Holly Go Rock. But the gameplay of Paperboy for the NES is very simple. It's an isometric view. You roll down the street on your bicycle, delivering your papers to your subscribers while avoiding obstacles, and those obstacles are many. They include dogs, breakdancers, the Grim Reaper, construction workers, cars, motorcycles, skateboarders, renegade lawnmowers, lawn jockeys, tires, angry women, fences, trash cans, tornadoes, gravestones, we'll hear about that, fire hydrants, sewer grates, manhole covers, and that's just to name a few. But there were no codes for Paperboy for the NES. But, if you had the Game Genie, you could unlock certain things like you could have unlimited papers, you could have unlimited lives. You could start with 6 lives, you could start with 1 life. You could start with 20 papers and also get 20 papers at pickup. I did not have any experience with that because I do not have a actual physical copy of Paperboy or an actual NES. I was playing on my NES Classic. But here on Between the Headphones, I have Adam Blank from the podcast Remember the Game. and we had a little conversation about this wonderful little ditty from Mindscape. All right, so welcome back to Between the Headphones, the portion of the podcast where we talk with other video game content creators. And with me today is Adam Blank from Remember the Game. So this episode is about Paperboy, but Paperboy for the NES.
That's the only one I've played.
Okay. So in our correspondence, you said that you were somewhat of a Paperboy junkie, which sort of piqued my interest. And then I was curious why.
Well, we had it growing up. Like, I mean, anyone that played NES, that's my first system because I'm old, and like, we had like 6 games, so you just played those games that you had over and over, and Paperboy was one of the ones that we owned, and so I played that game obsessively as a child. I wouldn't say I'm good at it, but I played it, and to this day, like I'll fire that up, and what should be a 5-minute game becomes 2 hours. I just think it's timeless. It's so much fun. I'm terrible at it, but it's so much fun.
For me, it's kind of like on the level of Tetris. Like you just kind of turn it on, you just sort of check out and just play, And
Absolutely.
sometimes you do good, sometimes you do bad, and it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, absolutely. I was always, as a kid, I was always obsessed with trying to, because you know how every day if you get all of your customers, you gain a customer.
Yeah.
Going into the next day. I was always obsessed with like, that was I didn't care about my score. I didn't care about that obstacle course at the end. I was like, I want to see how many people I can convert over. And if I lost somebody, usually I would just reset and start. Like that was my obsession. And I was never able, I don't even know if it's possible to convert everyone on the street. I assume it is, but I've never been able to do it. But that was my obsession with that game.
I did find a perfect run on YouTube where they hit all their customers every day. And apparently when you do a perfect run, you get like 100,000 point bonus or something. I couldn't do it even with save states.
No, it's almost impossible because it's just, and it's not, you know what it is it's not the hitting your houses. I don't find that particularly difficult. It's surviving long enough. Like I run out of lives before I can get to that point where I can convert everybody, because that game, like I've never been an actual Paperboy, but if they go through anything like that game throws at them, then they're not paid enough, because that game throws hell at you to stop you from delivering those papers.
It is like the whole I guess street is there's only one street in the NES version. So out of curiosity, I went over and I played the Sega Genesis port of Paperboy, and it's pretty faithful to the arcade version, but I didn't want to play it. I was like, this isn't NES Paperboy. There's something about NES Paperboy. It's got this simple soundtrack. The graphics aren't not that great, but it's a really fun game.
Yeah. I don't know what that is. It's the same, like, I'm like that with just about any game that's an arcade port onto the NES, like Turtles 2, the arcade game, or just, I don't know what it is. Like, if I grew up playing it on my NES, it just, even if other ports are the superior ports, I'm so biased to that little gray box. Like, I hold the NES in the highest of esteem. So I'm always going to prefer those versions of games. Always.
All right. And I just had this is one thing that I noticed about Paperboy, and just checking to see if it's just me. The house with the gravestones, does that alarm you at all? Like, why do
Yes.
these people have people buried in their front yard?
Yes. My brother and I, like as kids, always assumed that it was like it was Halloween and they just hadn't taken them down yet or something. But I agree with you. And I know it's stupid in a game where death chases you and there's a tornado and angry old wives with hairpin rollers and rolling pins chase. Like, I get that it makes no sense, but I don't understand the graves in the front yard either. It's fun to knock them down.
Hey, was it like 300 points every time you hit them? I forget.
Yeah, probably bad karma, but you bet your ass I'm knocking them down. So
Yeah, so it's a super common game, and I just found myself one day just playing it, and I was like, this is great. And I was just like, I wonder if people feel the same way about, this. It's not a great port, but it's a fun game.
it's timeless.
Yeah.
Dude, I love modern games, but there's something about just the simplicity, of a Paperboy, or you mentioned Tetris or something. Like, anyone can learn how to play a game like that. You're not going to get good, but anyone could. It's compared to a game today where it's 2 hours of tutorials just to figure out the controls and stuff. less is more sometimes. I love games like that.
Yeah, I just got a PS4 and I'm a little frustrated with the introductions and the loads and all that. But
Yeah, yeah.
all right, so I'm going to jump into some prearranged questions I ask all my guests on the podcast. First one, what are your thoughts on physical versus digital media?
That's a common debate in our community, and I want to make this clear. I'm a digital guy. I collect some old retro stuff, like my old favorites and things like that. But with my modern games, I'm a big fan of Game Pass. I like PS Plus. I'm a digital guy. I don't want to leave the house. I'm digital. But I still think there's a place for physical games. Like I know it seems like a lot of people are either one side or the other side. When I say I'm digital, I get people coming at me defending physical, and I'm not opposed to physical at all because I think there's arguments for buying used games cheaper, for always having access to your game. I get all of that. It's just personally, as someone that travels a lot for work and things, I prefer let me just take all my games with me anywhere I want. I like the convenience of digital myself.
All right. Next big question. What is your favorite video game controller?
Up until this last generation, it was probably the Xbox 360 or the Super Nintendo. And I swear this is not like I'm not being paid to shill this or anything. With this generation for my Nintendo Switch, I bought an 8-bit do SM30 Pro Plus. If you can see it, I'm holding up and it's kind of like a hybrid of a PS4 controller and a Super Nintendo controller. And I'm not paid a dime. I paid full price for this. I'm not a shill. I will sing this controller's praises from mountaintops because I think the PS4 controller is a great controller. I think the Super Nintendo is a great controller, and this hybrid of them is spectacular. So I know it's an uncommon answer. This is my favorite controller of all time.
No, it's a good answer. All right, and now the big question, what is your favorite soft drink?
I don't drink a lot of them, but I'm a Pepsi guy.
Pepsi.
I'm a Pepsi. Yeah, I'm a Pepsi guy. I like Coke too. Coke's got more bite, but I like just the sweetness of that first sip of like an ice cold Pepsi when you first crack that can. It's a refreshing. That's good stuff.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on the podcast. And obviously, I mean, you have the #1 retro video game podcast, but what is it?
It's Remember the Game is my show. We started it almost 7 years ago. Because I listened to other retro gaming shows and they're good, but I got tired of them either being really dry and educational. And I'm not dunking on any of those, but I was like, I want one where people are just talking about their memories of games that they like. I'm a stand-up comedian by night, so I decided to start a show just to try to get more comfortable behind a microphone. And now 300 some episodes later, I actually don't do a lot of stand-up. The focus is on Remember the Game. Every week, every Wednesday, we pick an old game, and a friend of mine and I just talk about our ups and downs and loves and disloves of them.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And I look forward to more of your podcast.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me on. Thank you so much.
So thank you once again to Mr. Adam Blank from the podcast Remember the Game. It is the #1 retro video game podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. He is someone that here at Two Consoles Too Late that I aspire to. He's such a wonderful gentleman. He's so full of energy and he's so funny. Be sure to check him out. Check out his stand-up as well. It's super funny. I can't speak highly enough. But now we're going to head on over to Auction Alert and see if we can find a couple copies of Paperboy for the NES.
Auction, 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 auction. Alert.
So I went over to the Shop Goodwills and did a search for Paperboy, and a couple listings came up. And only one listing actually had an NES copy of Paperboy. It was a lot of 3 games. It came with Blades of Steel, RBI Baseball, and Paperboy. All the games were untested. Currently, that auction is at $9.99 with 0 bids and 4 days left on the auction. But one thing really piqued my interest. Right now, there is a vintage 1988 Tiger Electronics Paperboy handheld game. There's 5 hours left on this auction, and there's only one bid, and it's up to $9.99. Now, for some reason, I kind of remember having this handheld. I don't know, like my memory is a little fuzzy, but I kind of remember maybe having this. So I went over to the eBay's to see what's a sold uh, listing for the Tiger Electronics Paperboy is, and the prices varied. I did find a sealed version of it for $125, and I'm really surprised it only went for that much. But a sold Tiger Electronics version of Paperboy is going for about anywhere between like 20 to like $40. There is a copy of the Genesis cartridge, and right now that is at $11.99 with 0 bids. But that version, the Genesis version. Once again, I didn't want to give that one lip service. I did play it very briefly. It was just way too colorful. It was just different. And there's just something about the original Paperboy for the NES that just fits. Well, that's another episode of Two Consoles Too Late. I have been the host, Jackson Keebler. Thank you for listening. And thank you once again to Mr. Adam Blank from the podcast Remember the Game, an awesome retro video game podcast that I highly recommend. If you're looking for me, though, you can head on over to Google and just type in Two Consoles Too Late, and there I will be found. Also, head on over to the Patreon, and at the $5 level, you can get the Miracle of Save States magnets, as well as typewriter manifestos, and much more. But as always, have a good one. I love you, and goodbye. Oh yeah, I'm in Baltimore.
Oh, buddy, I'm a Tampa Bay Rays fan. Your team scares the piss out of me right now. I just saw the hoodie, and I'm so surrounded by Jays fans. It's nice to talk to someone that's not a Jays fan. So